How did we get to the situation whereby in the same year you can find a company getting great reputation and people are uploading it, and on the other side somebody is having to pay over $3.9 billion for missing out on the same thing? Well, this key framework is the same thing that we get to see over and over in our daily workplace, whereby you get to see meetings that are held that should have been in email. And a lot of times you also get to see phone calls that are going through that should have been a text. And sometimes the information is there, but we don't know who to communicate this with. And it happens a lot of times. I'm Donald Machada, PMP Certified Project Manager. Today we're going to talk about communication metrics and how to effectively make use of it. This can also help you in your personal space to make boundaries around it. Myself, for example, within the operations, my teams know that if the objective of the call is, I'm just letting you know, then you should do so by a text. No necessity of a call for such. And communication metrics involve the segments such as the communication objective, the key information that is going to be addressed or discussed, the frequency of the communication, and the channel of engagement, and also the responsible parties, whom can be the people that we talk to or the people that actually are responsible for editing the communications prior to release to the other different stakeholders. Now, coming back to the burning issue within Pfizer / Goldman Sachs situation, in 2020, Pfizer communicated effectively that they are going to produce a vaccine relating to COVID. And by so doing, they discussed their milestones, they given updates on their clinical trials, and ongoingly they were engaging the government agencies, healthcare professionals, and also liaising with the public in different channels, which are social medias, press release, and other different forms of communication. Goldman Sachs situation is that situation whereby personally you get to find someone who's supposed to pay you your money back. 2 weeks later you call them after the deadline, and that's when they're telling you a story of how they cannot manage and why they can't manage. And you get to feel like, if you told me 2 weeks prior to the deadline, this could have been better for me to handle that type of a situation and the information thereof. And Goldman Sachs had to pay over $3.9 billion for not communicating in dollars. So when you look at that situation, what happened is that in the Goldman Sachs, there was a lot around managing Malaysian Sovereign Wealth Fund. So in the Malaysian Sovereign Wealth Fund, there were some illicit transactions that, they didn't look really proper, and it called for attention for investigation that involved the stakeholders such as the US, the Malaysian government, and the Singapore government regulators to actually get into the investigation of the matter. And as the investigation was ongoing, this costed Goldman Sachs a lot in terms of reputation. And ongoing, Goldman Sachs positioned themselves to say, you know what, we're going to involve ourselves in interviews, we're going to be in the press, all the different platforms to make sure that we actually collaborate and give information to show our transparency as a organization, to be able to iron this part. And yes, they did that, but it came with a lot of penalties in terms of reputation. Stakeholder trust was also at a different states than prior. And then also what happened is that the regulators questioned the Goldman Sachs governance. Now, when you talk about governance, this is where now we also engage into talking about how do you guys actually communicate? How do you guys actually authorize the transitions? So you get to be questioned a lot in terms of the governance and the whole authorization process. And that could have been also minimized or avoided should it have been that communication was transparent prior. As soon as the Goldman Sachs team found out that there is this type of transitions that are questionable going on, should they have involved the regulators to say, this is what we're doing, we understand that we got some culprit within the organization who are doing something funny, that are liaising with also some of the guys from the Malaysian government. Well, this is how we're gonna work around the investigation. And also the public relations wise, not gonna go to the extent of publishing everything because, well, they were gonna have the knowledge of understanding that the process of investigation is still ongoing, and therefore we must be able to give the confidentiality that this investigation deserves. Goldman Sachs didn't only pay the penalty, they also changed, they ended up hiring a new CEO and also letting go of the people that were accused of making those transitions or that they were involved around it. Be up in arms and trying to be forefront, now trying to be showing their transparency and their non-involvement as an organization, and that they don't promote such conduct. But should it have been earlier communicated, like I said, this was going to save Goldman Sachs a bit of reputation, unlike how it actually played out in the end. So communication metrics should be honored, and it should be taken as important because it's very effective. All the things that we get to work around in the project space, in the operational space, a lot involves communication, and that communication is very important to the engagement of the stakeholders. And one last thing, stakeholder management and communication management is not one thing, but it's very precise. I'm thankful for you to stay tuned on this video and follow for more. Thank you.